Back when I started, there was no training, there was no self-defence. If somebody pulled a weapon on you, you hit them, and you hit them hard.
How did you get into the security business?
My dad was a doorman at a venue in Darwin, and as a 17-year-old lad, I got in with my mates one night, having a few drinks, and there was a big fight started, and it just got bigger and bigger. The doorman was struggling. When you stood watching tables and chairs and bottles being thrown, and you know your dad's right in the middle of it, trying to do his job, you're seeing people getting hit that had nothing at all to do with the original argument. You feel that you've got to get involved, and seeing a young girl get hit full on with a bottle was what tipped me over the edge and made me go in. You're just lashing out anything that's in front of you, grabbing whoever you can, dragging them to the door, getting them out. And it was after when the staff were picking up all the broken bottles, glasses, furniture, I was leaning against the bar thinking, I couldn't do that job, not for what they get paid. And then the owner of the venue came over, Ken, spoke to my dad, said, start your lad on the door here. And my dad said, no, I don't want him doing this job. I think it was because my dad said no. I went, yeah, I'll do it. It was a case of, if you can handle yourself and do the job, you handle yourself and do the job. And that was basically how it started 30 years ago.
Bloody hell.
What about yourself?
Well, I left the police as a volunteer when I was about 18 and a half. I didn't really know what to do when I got out, and one of my mates, Matt, he said, why don't you join me on the doors? I thought, a bit nervous, but I followed him for a shift, unpaid obviously, and to see what it was all about. And he liked me and his boss liked me, and brought me on. And the adrenaline's matched, to be fair. What's the biggest fight you've been in?
I've been in a few over the years. I think one of the major fights I've ever been in was a very well-known venue in Blackpool. I wasn't actually working the door there. I was out in what we call the battle bus. We go around the venue, check in on the lads, walk through the doors, and it was mayhem. Absolute mayhem. I've never seen anything like it in my life. Big venue, massive capacity. The whole dance floor were fighting. And for some reason, the room seemed to split. And this group of lads, all big lads, bodybuilders, all out on the piss, stag do. It's about 32, 33 of them, something like that. And they lined themselves up at the bottom end of the venue, looking up towards the door staff who had lined themselves up at the top end of the venue. I think that was probably one of the times that I did feel a bit of fear there. This it's not going to go well. We were outnumbered, and we all just ran at each other. And it was just, there was no trying to get anybody out. It was a pure fight. It was just a fight. You didn't know who was stood in front of you, to who was stood at the side of you, to who was behind you at any one time, because there was that many bodies involved. You knew if you went on the floor, you get stamped all over. So it was a case of survival, stay stood up, hit them as hard as you could. Eventually the police arrived, started mopping up, dragging people out, putting them in the vans, etc. When it was done, there were several of them on the deck, but there were several of our lads on the deck as well. And you look back at it and you think, I might not have walked away from that. Do I want to carry on doing this job? What's the biggest fight you've been involved with?
There was 4 of us, and we'd patrol the town centre, basically, and we'd respond to the pub calls that come up asking for assistance. And then out of nowhere, about 15 blokes would run in. Some of them were topless, in the middle of the street by a zebra crossing, just swinging 7 barrels of out of each other. And then I remember seeing this one lad get thrown to the floor, quite close to us, and this guy started stamping on his head. It was vicious. They wanted to do harm. I've then sort of come up face to face with this guy and bear hugged him. Got him, and I've looked to me right, and honestly, probably the distance between me and you are, he'd pulled out this gun from his waistband and pulled it up. And I froze at that point. It's a split second. For some reason, this guy dropped his gun. I don't know if he fumbled with it on the drawer or someone had pushed him or what. And this gun had landed on my foot. I bent down and grabbed this gun. I remember I held it, my thumb was below the trigger guard and my hand over the barrel. I've turned round and the street had emptied. There was no one there apart from my 3 colleagues and their orange high vises laying flat on the deck. I couldn't say anything. I didn't think to get on my radio. I was just frozen with fear. I couldn't believe I had this gun in my hand. I've never been more scared than that in my life. And that was quite early on. So, has anything happened to you that's made you think I could have been killed?
Plenty, yeah. Thrown a local, well-known crackpot out of a venue in Blackpool. You know, we cleared the beer garden. Everybody got inside. About 20 past 10 at night. Suddenly these headlights appeared at the gatepost of the beer garden and carried on coming. At first we thought it was a taxi turning round. No, it was this crazy lunatic in his BMW driving at the door. He was trying to kill us all. So obviously we were all backed up inside and he's hit the doorpost, bang. He's in a mess in his car. We dragged him out. And I'll admit, he got a good hiding before the police got hold of him. The sort of incidents when you think, might not have got on that night.
Describe people in nightclubs in 3 words.
Bunch of There you go. They think they have the right to do and say whatever they want.
The one I get quite a lot is, oh, I'm a law student, or I know my rights. We don't drag him out because you're fighting, fighting's meant to be outside. It's so that he doesn't hurt him, and he's safe, and that he doesn't hurt him, and he's safe.
What's the worst injury you received from working the door?
I've been very lucky. The worst injury I've received has been a champagne, sort of a wine glass to the back of the head. I
broke my own hand, having to give somebody a crack many years ago. Broke 3 of my knuckles. Your normal injuries, you know, black eyes. Nobody's ever managed to break my nose, don't know why. Lost a couple of teeth. When I first started out, men were men and they fought fist to fist. These days it's, is he carrying a knife? Is he going to hit me with a bottle? Is he going to hit me, smash a glass in my face? Plenty of knives pulled out. 9 times out of 10, if you approach them, they bottle it and run away. Bit of a set to with some lads. One of the guys pulled a knife. He's lunged forward towards me with it, and I've instantly gone to grab the blade through my hand. You can see the scar there. And it's come through, going into my hand and come to the back. Looked like an exploded sausage for the night. I had to carry on working, because we were short-manned anyway. Cleaned it, plaster on it, carry on. Back when I started, there was no training. You hit them, and you hit them hard. You made sure they went down, and then you kicked the blade away from them. Or you backed up, and hopefully one of your colleagues came up behind them.
What if you've got an existing situation where you've got a few people fighting, and you've got to deal with quite a few people, or a massive guy that you're thinking, am I going to be able to do it? What's your way past that?
If I was giving you advice myself, look for the one that's landing punches. And I mean landing punches, not just throwing wild punches. That guy can fight. He's the one you need to take out straight away, because he's the one that's going to cause you damage. 9 times out of 10, the little hangers on will fade. Always walk into a situation. You run into a situation, you're not looking at what's going on. You're not seeing who's on the outsides of it. You're not seeing who's where doing what. But you've got to be able to start to learn to read people. And that comes with experience, it comes with time. Have you ever thought about quitting the job?
Yeah. Quite early on, my mental health was starting to get a bit iffy. Me and my colleagues were on main high street, a lot of pubs and clubs and bars, and out of nowhere, loads of people started running through this alleyway onto the high street, screaming. Bless her, this young lady grabbed me and said he's killing him. I made the choice just to go in, and this bloke's got another bloke in a doorway, and he's got his machete in his hand. It's a big machete, and we're just hacking at his head, and there's just so much blood, and he just lobbed his machete and bolted. There's about 3 of them. I didn't bother chasing them. I was scared. There's nothing I could have done.
You don't think the job's affecting you, but it is. As you get older, you just generally get used to it. You know it's coming. And it makes you wonder, is it worth it? Is the job worth it? You've got to be a certain kind of animal, simple as that. It's got to be within you to be able to do it, cope with it, deal with situations, not just physically but mentally. I suffer from PTSD now. Yeah, I was diagnosed March last year. 30 years is a long time. You wear and tear, you get pulled, pushed, hit. And it soon adds up. You see things that other people won't see. You do things that other people don't have to do. I had to hold a young girl's head together after she'd had a bottle put through it. That stayed with me a long time. A long time. Just seeing how human beings can treat each other, and that's one of the hardest parts of the job. Oh, good to meet you.
It's been a pleasure.
Stay safe, and just watch your back.